There is a sign on this case. 4 words. Positively, do not touch. It has hung there for decades, and according to the people who have cared for this doll, that warning is there for a reason. A priest once claimed he saw her in his rearview mirror moments before his car crashed. A man reportedly tapped on the glass, laughed at the warning, and died on a motorcycle later that same night. And then, in the summer of 2025, the man who had spent years transporting this doll across the country was found dead in a hotel room, hours after her case had been unpacked nearby. But here's the part most people get wrong. Annabelle is not the porcelain doll you have seen in the movies. No porcelain face, no glass eyes, no terrifying expression. She's a simple cloth Raggedy Ann style doll, with yarn hair, painted features, and a stitched smile. And somehow, that ordinary toy became one of the most famous supposedly haunted objects in America. This is the real Annabelle. The story begins in 1970. A young nursing student, usually identified as Donna, receives a birthday present from her mother. Inside is a Raggedy Ann doll, mass-produced by the Knickerbocker Toy Company. Nothing about its origin suggests anything unusual. Donna brings the doll home to the apartment she shares with her roommate, Angie. For a while, nothing happens. Then the doll starts moving. Not dramatically, not in front of them, just a different chair, a different room, a different position, always when no one was looking. At first, they assume they're simply forgetting where they left her. Then the notes appear. The women say they find them written on parchment paper they didn't own. And the message is always the same. Help us. At that point, it stops feeling like a misplaced toy. Angie's boyfriend, known as Lou, doesn't trust the doll, and according to the story, Annabelle doesn't seem to like him either. He begins finding the doll sitting upright, facing the door, or positioned somewhere he says it couldn't have been left. Then the strange behavior becomes personal. Lou starts finding scratches on his body. 3 marks, 4 marks, sometimes more. He describes them as claw marks, and just as mysteriously as they appear, they disappear within days. Now the women are frightened enough to ask for help. They contact a medium. The explanation they receive almost sounds comforting. The medium tells them that the doll is inhabited by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, a child who supposedly died on the land before the apartment was built. The spirit, they are told, doesn't want to hurt anyone. She simply wants to stay. She wants company. So the women agree to let her remain. According to the story, that was the moment everything changed. Frightened by what is happening to Lou, the women call a priest, and eventually, 2 names enter the story: Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens listen to the story of the little girl's spirit, but they reject the explanation completely. In their view, there was never a child inside the doll. Instead, they believe something else was using the doll as a disguise, pretending to be a harmless little girl so it could earn the women's trust and eventually get closer to a human being. The apartment is blessed. The doll is taken away. And then, according to the Warrens, something happens on the drive home. The brakes fail. Then they fail again. The Warrens say the car becomes increasingly difficult to control. Ed takes holy water and pours it over the doll in the passenger seat. And according to their account, the problems stop. From that moment forward, Annabelle remains in the Warrens' care. Back home, the Warrens say Annabelle continues to move, so they build a case for her, glass and wood. The Lord's Prayer and St. Michael's Prayer are placed along the frame, and the doll is sealed inside. Then the sign goes up: positively, do not touch. Over the years, more stories begin to surround her. A priest reportedly mocked the doll, and later claimed he saw her face in his rearview mirror before crashing his car. Another visitor reportedly tapped on the glass and laughed at the warning. He later died in a motorcycle accident. His girlfriend survived. The Warrens described these incidents as evidence that Annabelle could somehow harm people. But there is an important problem. Almost every dramatic story comes from the same source: the Warrens themselves. The people involved were rarely publicly identified outside those accounts, and there is no independent evidence proving that Annabelle caused the crashes or injuries. And that distinction becomes important as the story moves into the modern day. After Ed and Lorraine Warren passed away, their son-in-law, Tony Spera, continued the family's paranormal legacy. But the Warrens' famous museum in Monroe, Connecticut, eventually closed to the public following zoning issues. The collection remained, and so did Annabelle. For years, she stayed behind glass, until someone decided to take her out. In 2022, investigator Dan Rivera became closely associated with Annabelle. A new case was built around her, based on Ed Warren's original design. And this time, the doll wasn't staying home. She was going on tour. By 2025, Annabelle was traveling across the United States as part of Nesper's Devils on the Run tour. A haunted prison in West Virginia, New Orleans, San Antonio, Gettysburg, and almost immediately, rumors began spreading online. A jail incident in Louisiana. A reported 911 outage in Pennsylvania. Both were blamed online on Annabelle. Both were publicly denied by Rivera and Nesper. But then came Gettysburg. And this time, something genuinely tragic happened. The 13th of July, 2025. Dan Rivera, Annabelle's handler and Nesper's senior lead investigator, is found dead inside his hotel room in Gettysburg. He was 54 years old. And within hours, the story explodes online. Because of one detail, Annabelle was part of the same tour. But the official details are important. Officials did not announce that Rivera's death was caused by anything paranormal. An autopsy was ordered, and one detail was made clear. The doll was not in the hotel room. She had been secured separately, reportedly in a vehicle nearby. Still, the timing was enough to send the internet into overdrive. A man who had spent years traveling with one of the world's most famous supposedly haunted objects was suddenly dead. And that was all the story needed. The rumors wrote themselves. Tony Spera and Nesper said the tour would continue in Rivera's memory. Illinois, Maine, Kentucky. And Annabelle kept moving. But not everyone connected to the Warren family wants any part of what Annabelle has become. Chris McKinnell, another grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, runs his own paranormal organization. He has criticized the touring, merchandise, and spectacle surrounding Annabelle, arguing that it is less about investigation and more about performance. He says he is protecting his grandparents' legacy. Though he also operates within the same paranormal industry, which makes the line between principle and business harder to see clearly. And while the Warren family disagrees over Annabelle's legacy, the doll itself continues to attract attention. In August 2025, comedian Matt Rife and Elton Castee purchased the Warrens' former home and the property associated with the Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The collection entered a new chapter. And Annabelle, one of the most famous objects connected to the Warren legacy, was now part of that collection. A doll that began in a nursing student's bedroom in 1970 had traveled through decades of paranormal stories and eventually became part of one of the most recognizable collections in paranormal culture. And somewhere along the way, Hollywood noticed. Based on the Annabelle doll and the story surrounding her, Hollywood later made films including Annabelle, Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home, along with appearances in the Conjuring films. But some researchers have questioned how much evidence actually exists behind Annabelle's story. Religious studies scholar Joseph Laycock has pointed out that many of the claims surrounding the Warrens' collection come from the stories told by the Warrens themselves. Science writer Sharon Hill has made a similar point, noting that there is little independent evidence to verify the dramatic claims associated with Annabelle. After more than 50 years of stories, the question remains simple. Is there really something behind the glass? Or is Annabelle just a story that people kept believing? So what is actually behind that glass? 50 years of stories, crashes, marks, warnings, a nationwide tour, and a man who never made it out of his hotel room after spending years transporting this doll. Almost every dramatic claim leads back to the same place. The people who told the story first. And yet the doll is still there, still behind glass, still surrounded by the same warning. Positively, do not touch. Maybe the story is exactly what the Warrens said it was. Maybe it isn't. But after more than 50 years, no one has been able to give a definitive answer. So, what do you think? Is Annabelle genuinely haunted? Or is she simply one of the most successful paranormal stories ever created? Let us know what you believe in the comments. And if mysteries like this keep you curious, subscribe to Unknownology Mysteries. We dig into the stories, and the legends, and the details hiding behind them. I'll see you in the next one.